Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another Webinar Wednesday hosted by CSU Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. Good afternoon. I'm the director, Kelly Bearden, and we're back. I'm also your host today. We have a great webinar today planned. I'm really looking forward to hearing about some of these new programs for restaurants, some other things that are going on in the gas industry and how they affect our small businesses up and down California, but mostly here in Kern County. So what is up today? April the 19th, 2023. Well, we're going to be continuing, and unfortunately, it's going to be a continuing story as we talk a little bit about the disaster relief efforts, the two disaster declarations. We have multiple disaster declarations that have affected not only businesses, but residents in the southern San Joaquin Valley, the Kern River Valley, and other parts of Kern County and the Central California region. So we're going to talk a little bit about, update that on what has happened since we have talked last week on this particular topic. Restaurant relief is here. We have a special guest, Rob Duchow, in today, and he is going to explain some of the relief that's out there to assist restaurants, particularly for the smaller variety of restaurants. You know, I'm a fan of those mom and pops. So mom and pop, be listening. Also, our capital quarter is going to be on the disaster loans that are out there, and also maybe just touch a little subject on one of the tools that we see restaurants use, and that is leasing programs and leasing equipment. Oftentimes, there are some good advantages toward leasing, and if you just do the math, figure out what the rate of return is that you're paying on that particular lease and weigh it against other options. Oftentimes, we find that leasing is a very viable option for small restaurants that are wanting equipment to either expand or to replace existing equipment that is going bad. Maybe it's more energy efficient, who knows? Our economic corner, our other segment on inflation, it actually concerns food costs. So whereas we talk a little bit about food cost and the cost of food in grocery stores, it's also affecting restaurants and many others. But it's interesting that we've seen inflation going down over the last, several months. And really the concern right now with many economists is on the cost of food. I think I joked last week about the $8 jar of mayonnaise that wasn't even a quart anymore. But really, that's kind of a underlying theme of what we're seeing as far as food costs. I have a quick look at community calendar to see what upcoming events are coming up in the community, events that you may or may not be interested in. We'll talk a little bit more about our startup business opportunity. A couple of weeks ago, we talked a little bit about home-based childcare business opportunities and alluded to the fact that 60,000 childcare professionals that were working in the childcare industry have left that market since the pandemic, and the acute shortages that are everywhere around, and the opportunity for a nice, very efficient ran small business out of your home being childcare can't be profitable and quite lucrative for those that are doing that particular work. We'll look at other key programs. We'll take your questions, so please go to the Q&A box and put your questions in there. We have our producer, Maureen Busher-Dang, who will be adding a lot of the resources we talk about to the chat. So go into the chat and grab those particular resources. The Q&A we will take after a presentation today. So put your questions in the Q&A. And as always, or almost always, we have a poll today. So let's go and let's start with our first poll question. We just have two easy ones, and we were talking about inflation, and we always seem to talk about inflation in the US, and it's really a global issue. So let's talk about, inflation in the United Kingdom. That's right, the UK. What is the current inflation rate in the UK? Is it over 10%? Is it nearly 6%, or is it only 3%? Three options, and if you've been here before, I kind of like the 80-20 rule on things, but really didn't fit this question. But what is, UK, sure, it's one of my names, Uncle Kelly, but the UK inflation rate for the United Kingdom, is it currently over 10%, nearly 6%, or only 3%? Got a good response, so thank you for jumping in. 66% of you have participated. And let's end the poll and share the results. And we have a dead heat. Yes, 50% of you, over 10%, and 50% of you, nearly 6%. A little bit of pause for effect before I give you the correct answer is over 10%. So slightly over 10% still in the UK, whereas we've seen it come down to 5%, even though there's still big concerns, over 10% in the UK. And so thank you for participating in that question. And since inflation is kind of a boring topic, I know that, you know that, let's have a little bit more fun with this next question. Okay, so Magnus Carlson is the 5-time world chess master. He's currently sitting out this year's world championships that are happening right now. What is he playing instead? Is it cribbage? Is it poker? Or is it Chinese checkers? Magnus Carlson, 5-time world champion, chess master, is not going for number 6, did not want to go to Kazakhstan, and instead has been playing something else. And we have 58% of you in right now. Magnus Carlson, Norwegian, great chess master. 62% of you are in. Let's end this particular poll and share the results. Oh, and boy, you guys are on it today. Look at that. 72% of you said poker. Yes, he is. He is playing Texas Hold'em poker. And he's calling a lot of bluffs on people and poker players that don't really like it. So really, I guess some of that chess, calling a bluff or anticipating moves has been working for him pretty well so far as he's migrated from chess to Texas Hold'em poker. So thank you. 72% of you correct. 22% thought maybe Chinese checkers, and only 6% thought cribbage. And maybe the other 94% thought, what is cribbage anyway? So stop sharing and end the polls for today and move on. So kind of the status of the key relief programs that are out there. We do have these 2 storm-related disasters that are kind of still going on. The first was from the end of December 27th, in through the end of January, and caused a great deal of damage in mostly the Central Coast region, also in the San Joaquin Valley and other areas. There was a FEMA physical disaster on that, and it has closed for the physical damage of that particular storm, but open remains the economic injury. And you remember the economic injury disaster loans. They are part of the, I think everybody saw them pretty much through COVID or heard about them or something. So this is very similar and kind of impacts your business from the flood. You are entitled to a interest rate about 3%, nice little tidy loan. We'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But those are still open, and those 2 are going to be open for quite a while. And there's other federal programs and other federal relief that keeps happening that we're going to keep talking about, as hopefully the second storm that started with the March storms dumped all the snow in the mountains that's waiting up there to come down. So we'll be watching those closely. Also, the Kern County Micro Grant Program, it has been open. It ends soon. So ends very soon. That's the $2,500 grant program. It's still enough time to get in and get that. We'll be talking in 2 weeks about the City of Bakersfield Entrepreneurship Program. And we'll be coming to Webinar Wednesday on May 3rd. And it is a program that will be, I believe, announced next week that offers individuals within certain census tracts of the City of Bakersfield, within that City of Bakersfield, something very similar to what we saw with the California Dream Fund last year, the opportunity to go through training. Actually, after you've had training, meet with a SBDC advisor and complete a business plan and receive a grant from, in this case, it would be the City of Bakersfield. So there's the most we've talked about that, but it will be coming to Webinar Wednesday. Look for it on May 3rd. It's through a partnership of the Small Business Development Center and also EEGO, EEGO, the Extended Educational Global Office of Cal State Bakersfield. So That's more information that we've been able to provide in quite a while. And the employee retention credit may be open because you're probably getting a lot of emails and phone calls about that still. But Nurture, the financial security and mobility for childcare entrepreneurs. This training did start this week. Trainings will be going on, and although it started a couple of days ago, I believe you can still catch up in either English and Spanish. Really an outstanding program, and really meets a need for a lot of individuals who are really not entering the workforce again. A lot of women and some men are not entering the workforce because they're having a hard time finding childcare for their children. So this could help alleviate some of that, and also give some of the entrepreneurs out there that are interested in childcare a wonderful opportunity to do that particular business yourself. Our economic corner looks at, whereas inflation is eased back to 5% in March, we did still cite some of the concerns that we are seeing with economists out there that are many of those are expecting a 0.25% hike in your interest rates in May and June. So any of your variable loan rates are generally going to be affected by that and continue to go up, particularly your SBA guarantee loans and other loans that are variable by nature. And along with our economic outlook on our webinar Wednesday today, 61%, I found this statistic really amazing. 61% of economists fear that a slight recession is possible within 6 months. And that is the exact same as in January 2023. And it was probably 6 months ago where we were saying, we're expecting a recession every 6 months, it seems like, and it still hasn't happened. So it's funny, we're not 6 months, I know, removed from January 2023, but it's still kind of interesting that that is happening. So on our Capital Quarter federal storm report, just kind of like, we had a pretty good detail on this last week, and we'll probably cover this in a little bit more detail, but we'll go through some of the main components if you might have missed that. And that is, there are two basic SBA disaster loan assistance open in Kern County at this time. One is a primary county, one is a secondary. So the primary one from the March storms, if you had any physical damage, you could be entitled to relief in the form of a very low interest rate loan for your residence or your business. That's one instance where SBA will actually make loans to residents. We've been talking about USDA, and next week we're very happy to have a representative from USDA Rural Development come in and explain in great detail the USDA programs that are out there. Also note that Monday was not only Patriot Day in the New England areas, but it was also the deadline was a deadline, at least at one time, for filing your tax returns. And of course, if you're in Kern County and other counties that were affected by the disaster, you know that has been pushed back from the time to file and to pay your taxes. We're still encouraging people that if you have damages to any property, particular damages, there were some more counties that were added to the last disaster. So about 3 or 4 counties were added. They were outside the Central California region, so we'll catch that at a later time. But report the damage, and you can go to in Inyo County, Mono County, and also in Kern County to particular websites. It's important to document as you find this property damage, because more counties are added as primary counties and then would be subject to receiving the property damage loans if you've had an extensive amount of property damage to your home or business. Also in the San Joaquin Valley, here in the southern San Joaquin Valley, again, there's the Kern County link, but you could also go to Kings or Tulare County. Really kind of a real hot spot is that southern Tulare County area as far as potential flooding now and maybe even later on. So report that damage, and let's get some more counties available for that flood damage. And as you see here, you will be reporting to the county EOS. And just the process again is the counties come up with the damage. The state comes in and reviews it and asks the feds to step in for the disaster. Now it is just kind of like documenting to see if there's more losses in certain counties that were initially left out. So report that particular damage. Won't jump into this. This is what we jumped into last week, but it really shows you between the 2 disaster loans that are available and the 2 options that that you can have out there. It kind of shows kind of a nice chart. We'll include this chart. I don't think I gave it to Maureen to post in the chat. My bad. But if she has it, it'll be there. And also, it'll, I'm sure, go out in the links. So USDA Assistance, we're going to have a lot more on this next week. So let me just touch real quick, is there are, and this has kind of been a moving target at USDA, so it hasn't been something clearly defined, that I learned in a recent telephone call with next week's guest. So, but the thing to remember is you can receive up to $40,675 to repair homes. And with interest rates, you know, even on home and home loans at a high rate, if you even have equity that you could tap, you need to look into at least see if maybe one of these lower interest rate loans that are over 30 years are something that would help you cash flow better from not only a personal, but a business standpoint. So those are the counties, and we'll talk again about this next week. If you have any questions, we'll put the contact information in the chat today. And the IRS deadlines are extended. Also, the California Franchise Tax Board has been extended, as we mentioned. So those are still kind of available and moving forward. Talked about the Kern County Micro Grant Program. And hopefully a lot of these individuals in outlying areas, I think this program has been pretty well received in you know, the greater Bakersfield area, but we're still trying to do more outreach into some of the outlying areas that maybe didn't hear about this program that's been going, about for 9 or 12 months right now. But it's the grant program for $2,500 for small businesses that were in business on 12/31/19. And during that year, you could not have had sales, not profit, sales of over $50,000. It must have been your main source of income. And if you had employees, but you could always contact us here at the center. We'll provide you more information and try to wrap up this program and get some more of that money out to you as well. So you can always go to our CSUB YouTube page. You'll see we have 325 subscribers. You know, don't be shy. You can subscribe. Come on. And there we have currently 222 videos. Most of those are Webinar Wednesdays. Many of those aren't on there. We're going to probably start going through and start taking out some of the older ones that are being replaced with more current information. But you can always go there 3-4 days after the webinar and find a Webinar Wednesday from the previous Wednesday. So we keep that in mind. This one will be up here probably on, my guess is Saturday. There's a few of my favorites on the CSUB SBDC YouTube. You know, I had to put one of my own in there, you know that. But really, we had a good session on HR and California law update at the beginning of this year, if you need that updated, and other things about how to franchise your business and using IP as a strategy. At the SBDC, we have a variety of tools in our toolbox. The Live Plan interactive business planning software is one that's very popular, where you can work with your advisor remotely and actually continue to get input from both of you to create a very sustainable business plan for your business. SBDC Net is a clearinghouse of information, some great market analysis information that is there. You know, we love our cash flow forecasting. Talked about YouTube, and a few weeks ago, you might have been on for the Clayton Leadership Transition Plan. Morgan Clayton basically handing over his 40-plus year business, Teltech Security, to his daughter Tasha. And really kind of the guideline and the blueprint that he used is right there and available if you contact the SBDC, made very generously from Morgan and Tasha Clayton. So community calendar, as we wrap things up, we talked about the nurture class that's starting. The economic summit for Kern County is coming up. No longer an in-person event. It's televised on KGET TV. It'll be on Saturday, May 13th. And among the sponsors for this event is California State University, Bakersfield. This HR resource for businesses in both English and Spanish, that is provided through, I believe, through one of the job training entities in Central California. And so it's available through the California Employers Association and America's Job Center. So there is some contact information on that and shows the list of counties here that it was designed for, which brings me to our special guest today. And our special guest today is Rob Duchow. And Rob is the Public Affairs Manager for SoCalGas, covering Kern County and the Antelope Valley. And he's been in that position for over 15 years now. So Rob works with a variety and maintains relationships with many community individuals, community groups, community and business leaders, media outlets, serves very proudly on a number of board of directors. Probably the favorite board I see Rob sitting on. A little shout out to our North of the River Chamber people, who Rob and I both missed the meeting last week. We were both aware of that, and we will do better in the future. So other boards that too numerous to mention at this time lived previously in Rome. And that's Rome, New York, not Rome, Italy, where he started his career as a reporter, as the director of communications for the New York State Senator Ray Meyer. Never heard of Ray Meyer. But he's a graduate of Clarkston University in Potsdam, New York. Got to talk to him about that one of these days. And Rob and his wife have 2 children, live in Bakersfield. Big baseball fan. I love talking baseball with Rob Duchow. There's nothing or no one better to talk baseball with than Rob Duchow, unless you don't like the Boston Red Sox, and then you're going to have a problem. But fine with the Boston Red Sox. So let's bring in Rob Duchow. Rob, thank you for joining us today. I am going to pull up and change the share here and actually give a new share where we can get your website up here for this particular program we're going to talk about. So, of course, when that happens, it's sometimes a problem for me. And let me try this again. So, missed that part of the share, but here we go. Okay, here we go. Rob, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Kelly.
Take it away.
I feel like I'm on the SNL Weekend Update desk where you just slide in your chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here today. As Kelly said, my name is Rob Duchow. I'm a Boston Red Sox fan. I'm sorry. I am, but that's not why I'm here. I'm the Public Affairs Manager for Southern California Gas Company here in Kern County. And I'm here today to talk about a program that 3 utilities have partnered to put together. And it's a program that's been together for a few years. And it's actually operated through the California Restaurant Foundation. And they have a restaurant care resilience fund. But small restaurants, as if you operate one, you patronize one, you know it. They're the flavor and fabric of local communities. And the work that they do is that they provide an important piece of local communities. The work of the Restaurant Foundation, California Restaurant Foundation, is really to help support and sustain these local restaurants and their owners and employees and the businesses. California's restaurants have faced numerous challenges in recent years, and this grant opportunity will help enable restaurants to make some upgrades to their equipment to be more energy efficient. It might provide employees with bonuses or new training, might just cover some unforeseen hardships. This fund has $2.1 million in it this year in 2023. SoCalGas provided $1 million of that amount. The rest, I believe, was provided by the other natural gas utilities in the state, the investor-owned utilities, San Diego Gas and Electric and Pacific Gas and Electric. And together, as I said, there's $2.1 million that will be given out to locally owned restaurants in $5,000 grants. We anticipate 360 such grants being provided statewide. 177 of those will be provided in SoCalGas territory. Now, here in SoCalGas, we serve about 1/3 of the county. You probably, as a business owner, you know where you're located and who your natural gas utility is, whether it's SoCalGas or PG&E. But this program is open to customers of both utilities. So go to the website that's on your screen now to apply. A few of the rules for this grant program: the restaurants have to be independently owned. I don't believe chains are eligible, even though I know chains have local franchise owners. But it's for locally owned, independently owned restaurants. And by locally owned, I believe the owner has to be a California resident and the restaurant has to be located in the state of California. The application period for these grants just started last Saturday on April 15th and will continue for about 2 more weeks through May 7th. So about 2.5 weeks you have remaining to apply for these loans. The loans can be used, as I mentioned earlier, to purchase new energy efficient equipment. It can be used to adopt new technology, can be used to train new and current employees, and to reward employees who may deserve a bonus that you feel, and for unforeseen hardships which may come up. To qualify, restaurants must have 5 or fewer units and less than $3 million in annual revenue, and that's $3 million across all units. So it is for the small restaurants. Priority will be given to restaurants who have not received this grant in the past. But if you've received a restaurant resilience grant in the past, please apply, because you will still be considered and you are encouraged. This grant is part of SoCalGas's partnership, and this is part of our company's Aspire 2045 goals, sustainability goals, which include a commitment to invest $50 million to drive positive change in diverse and underserved communities. 5 years. We have a mission we are the largest, I should have started with this, we are the largest natural gas utility in the United States. We serve 22 million people through 6 million meters at homes and businesses in Southern California, from southern Fresno County south to the Mexican border. And by serving 22 million people, we are the largest natural gas utility in the United States. And this grant program is part of our involvement in the communities where our customers, our employees live and work. And we have a goal as a company. I mentioned our Aspire 2045 sustainability goals, but beyond that, we have a goal to be the safest and most innovative gas energy company in America. We're achieving that through a number of means. This restaurant resilience fund, since it was formed in 2021, it was really formed coming out of the pandemic to help business restaurants specifically that had suffered through the pandemic. As we all know, you know well that the pandemic took a hard hit on restaurants specifically, and so this was recognition of that. And this year, it's been funded quite a bit in recognition of some of the ongoing issues restaurants are enduring, including high gas prices that you saw over the winter months. For us, SoCalGas, our highest gas prices were in January for the gas you used during January. Those prices are down significantly since, and in fact, our price for April is the lowest it's been since July of 2021. And it's about 80 some percent lower than it was in January. So prices have come down back to what you might consider a historically normal, historically average level. What will happen in the future remains to be seen. Is it, hopefully we don't continue with the volatility we saw in the commodity price over the winter, but we'll see that as we move forward. This fund, just to show you some of the work that's done over the last few years. Since it was formed, this Resilience Fund has awarded 788 grants to independent restaurants across California. And among those, 68% were women-owned and 83% were owned by people of color. So it's diverse owners. I want to talk a little bit more about what SoCal Gas can do for small businesses, specifically restaurants. First of all, I mentioned the high gas prices. If you are struggling to pay your gas bill, please call us. Call our customer service number, 1-800-427-2200. We want to work with you to make arrangements to get that bill paid. Don't ignore it. Please reach out to us for a payment plan or some other arrangements. You on that. We're committed to working with small businesses in a number of ways to find solutions that are can fit your unique business needs, to try to help you determine ways you can save money on your utility bills. One thing that's unique to restaurants that we offer is a try before you buy demonstration with gas cooking equipment, where you can literally try this equipment before you purchase it, to select the best energy efficient equipment for your business. Small business owners of all kinds, including restaurants, can also request a no-cost energy survey to be conducted of your business by an energy expert. We can come into your business and look for ways where you might be more energy efficient in the equipment you use or how you use it, and help you save money by reducing your energy usage and therefore reducing your energy bill. And we also offer rebates and incentives for eligible gas cooking equipment, water heating equipment, heat recovery products, and energy efficient upgrades that are installed in your restaurant or small business. So if you're going to be doing some renovations, some upgrades, contact us before you do that so that you can take part in those. And we also have a webinar, or not a webinar, an in-person event coming up. I'll tell you about. This is going to be held next week. We have what we call our Energy Research Center in the city of Downey, just outside of the city of Los Angeles. And next week, April 25th and 26th, we will be hosting a food service equipment expo. It's no cost to restaurant owners. You can come and come in person, learn more about some of the rebates and incentives we have for eligible cooking equipment, water heating equipment, heat recovery products, and other equipment that I just mentioned. You're invited to attend it. It's at our Energy Resource Center in Downey, and you can connect and rebuild, discover new operational savings and performance tools to help you lower your energy usage and gas bills. And please put something in the chat for me, or let Kelly know you need more information and I can get that to you. And that's what I have prepared. I'd be happy to answer questions or Kelly about anything else as we
the fun part
on the SNL weekend update side.
The weekend update. Okay, Colin. Well, a lot to talk about. What's going on. First, can you repeat that phone number, the 800 number, if people are having issues? And it's glad to hear that you're flexible and you're working with people. So repeat that 800 number again.
It's 1-800-427-2200. And that 427 is simply gas. So gas 2200.
Gas 2200. Well, it's really nice to hear that my gas bill's going down. Now I can take longer showers.
Yes. Or you can conserve.
Well, I think I'm due for a long shower. So a couple things. You'd mentioned the expo, the Energy Expo next week. Let's give that information. Do you have a website, or do you have another contact where people could, because it sounds fascinating being able to look at energy efficient equipment and other processes that might be available to restaurateurs out there.
I don't have that with me this moment. But I can
Okay.
come up with one before the end of the webinar.
That's fine. What we can do is we will put it in the links that we have that we send out. We typically will send out a webinar link with all of the links that we talked about, everything that's in the chat, and also a recording of today's webinar. So look for that if you're interested in that, or you could probably Google SoCal Gas and what's it called again? The food trade.
It's called our Food Service Equipment Expo.
There you go. Okay. Okay, so got that covered. There was really something also in the news, and I'll take the lead on this, is that coming from a restaurant family, as many of you know out there, I like to call myself the generation skipping restaurant entrepreneur. And I'm still real proud of that, even though I had great time with mom and pop in their restaurant, and son's doing a great job right now. But the one thing is that in being that close to restaurants, you still follow a lot of the trade stuff in restaurants. And I noticed this last week that the city of Berkeley had a couple of years ago actually done a lawsuit that precluded a number of cities. I think there were probably over 5 or 6 around the country from installing gas appliances in your home. And I was caught by surprise because the defendant in actually challenging them in court was the California Restaurant Foundation, or the California Restaurant Trade Group. So in following that up, then that makes me think and talk to other restaurateurs out there. And I say, well, gee, why are they interested in this if it's affecting the home? And of course, their interest is that with restaurants, you really need gas equipment. You need the gas equipment, particularly with the nice big wolf ranges and things like that. So that was overturned by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals on Monday in San Francisco. And is there anything you can talk about on that?
Not really. As you mentioned, Berkeley a few years ago imposed a ban on new gas appliances, something to that effect. I don't know the exact language of it. A number of other cities in California, mostly along the coast in the years since, have implemented similar bans or restrictions on installation of new gas appliances in homes and businesses. And each one is a little different. There's various ways to go about it. But as you said, there's a Restaurant Trade Association that challenged in court the Berkeley law, and the ruling favored the restaurants. And so we'll see what happens with future appeals or in the court, but there's really nothing that we have to comment on at this point. It's, I think those who know about it are interested in, and the news coverage is pretty extensive, but beyond that, we don't really have a position or comment on that right at this point. While it continues to play out in the court system.
Okay, well, let's jump to our questions, the Q&A real quick. We have a couple questions in here. And the first one is, what is going on with the state phasing out of natural gas appliances, which is kind of what we were talking about a little bit there.
There are some new building codes, and I'm not fully up on them, but the state is making a push toward electrifying many things. And one of the codes, I believe, is that all new homes after some date, I don't know if it's January 1 of 23 or July 1 of 23, exactly when it takes effect, but new homes have to be plumbed for electric at all appliances. It doesn't mean you can't also plumb for natural gas and install natural gas appliances, but you have to have the electric availability. What that means for homeowners, I think it depends on the homeowner and their customer base. But that is one of the ways California is going about trying to electrify.
Yeah. Well, people don't come from my Wolf gas range in my kitchen. Do not come from my outdoor propane cookers, my gas grill, or even my charcoal grill. Okay. Thank you. just because I'm in, skip a generation on being a restaurateur, I
Doesn't mean you,
still like it.
we all like to eat.
I
Most of our food's cooked.
Yeah, and I still like to do magic in the kitchen. So, okay, so the next question is natural gas considered clean energy?
Well, here in Bakersfield, Golden Empire Transit get buses all run on natural gas, and the side of the bus says powered by clean burning natural gas. When I fly out of LAX, there's a lot of buses through there that say powered by clean natural gas. So
There's still a lot of natural gas fired electrical plants that make this electricity that's going to be used instead of gas, correct?
correct. More electricity in California is generated from natural gas than any other source.
And
So
in a lot of
clean-
states, it's like it's replacing coal and other dirtier forms.
Over the last 30 years, a lot of electric generation across America has shifted from coal to natural gas. The question is natural gas considered clean? I guess it's in the eye of the beholder. It's 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago, all the buses I just mentioned ran on diesel, and they were replaced by natural gas because it was cleaner. And now there's attempts to replace natural gas because people don't think it's clean. So there's states of cleanliness, levels of cleanliness, and it's in the, like I said, it's in the eye of the beholder on how clean you're trying to be and what element you're trying to have cleanest.
Okay, so those are the two questions in the Q&A box. Please add another one if anybody has any questions. If not, Rob and I are going to spend a little bit of time just running through this website that's been up here for a little bit. There's the website, the link is in there, and it looks like right here you can apply. Here is a place to apply, and there's also a flyer. So what happens if I have PG&E gas instead of SoCal gas?
I think when you apply, it'll ask for your utility. If you want to click on the apply, or you,
Am I that risk taking at this point?
it doesn't look like a hot link though. There you go.
Okay. So there's beginning and ending date and another apply. So you create a login and a password, and first time users, existing, and so forth.
Very sweet.
Okay, so what happens if
But to answer your question, all natural gas utility customers, whether you're SDG&E, PG&E, or SoCal Gas, go to this website to apply.
what happens if I'm in a rural area and I use propane?
I don't think you're eligible. I think you have to be a customer of one of those three utilities.
Okay, and I see you have a nice list of frequently asked questions and the grantees who were awarded this grant in 2021 and 2022.
If I don't know who's received it, but it may be some of your neighbors, some people and you can look through there and ask them about their experiences. There's a testimonial on there from at least one person who did receive this grant.
And there's the three gas providers that are making this available, 2.1 million. And the $5,000 grants are to be used for these purposes. Kitchen equipment, technology upgrades, employee training, retention, unforeseen hardship. Boy, that could cover a lot.
It could. So it's kind of pretty open-ended. And one of the eligibility requirements I don't think I mentioned earlier is that the restaurant has to have been in business for at least 1 year. So can't be a brand new startup thing.
Okay, and so this spring eligibility cycle, there it is right there, huh? So customer of the utilities.
You have to be a customer of one of the utilities.
1 to 5 units you mentioned, located in California, less than 3 million in revenues, and open for at least 1 full year.
And that 3 million is a total revenue among all of your units. So if you could have 1 unit doing 2.9 million, or you could have 5 units each doing 550,000.
And considerations for women and people of color. Okay, and so then there's information on how to apply. You can download the checklist. There's a nice checklist provided. And again, this ends on May 7th. So this is very timely right now, as we are 4 days into the application process. it's not first come, first serve on the selection, is it?
No, and there's also a video here that'll walk you through the application process.
Is there anything that shows the scoring on how applicants are selected?
I don't know if there is, I don't know if that checklist would have anything. I think that's more of a telling you what you need to have available to you to complete the application.
Okay, and there's a little bit more on the 22 applicants. And a little more information. Media is interested, etc.
And you can sign up for updates.
And there's I always like it when they list the FAQs at the end, because then we can look. Do I have to be a CRA member, California Restaurant Association? No, you don't. I will answer that one for them right now.
Okay.
Am I right?
I don't know.
I'm not always right.
Nope, you are right. There's two of your questions. Is it first come, first serve? And how do you determine that?
No.
All submitted applications will be reviewed.
In the case we have more qualified applications and funding, we'll do a lottery draw.
Wow. That might lead to the next question. How do you determine grant approval?
Boy, it's chock full of good information in the FAQ. Go ahead, Rob.
Completed applications that meet eligibility requirements are reviewed and scored on a rubric created by the task force of the California Restaurant Foundation. So it doesn't tell you exactly what's in that rubric.
Can catering companies apply, Rob?
Only brick and mortar restaurants that are open to the public, serve both food and beverage, and have regular operating hours are eligible.
What about food trucks?
Unfortunately, not at this time.
Okay. Can restaurants be closed at the time of application?
No, restaurants must be open.
This is fun. I tell you, these are the questions I'm expecting.
But if you've modified your business operations for takeout or delivery only, that is okay.
Okay, how does this fund help F+B workers?
Food and beverage.
Food and beverage workers. Well, that's a good question.
Great question.
I'm
It's
sorry.
a great question.
It wasn't a good question.
Great question. Well, of the funds that will be given out, 5% will go to the Restaurants Care Relief Fund for food and beverage workers. This is our way of building a holistic recovery. Grants for restaurants, small business support services, and grants for workers. Workers do not have to be employed at one of the restaurants receiving relief funding.
And you can go to the website and get the gist of that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's pick one last question here.
Why do you need a personal statement?
Okay. So why do you need a personal statement and a photo? Because apparently that's part of the process, is you need to make a personal statement and a photo.
Yep. Well, we're doing everything we can to help restaurants and their crews. Your story helps us to know you better. We share the stories and photos to show donors the impact that they're having.
I couldn't agree more.
And I believe if you've been blessed with great success and you want to help out other restaurants or other small businesses, I believe you can donate to this Restaurant Resilience Fund that can in turn use those funds to help others.
So do multiple each qualify if under 3 million total? I would think it'd be one grant for 1 to 5 locations. So if you have 1 to 5.
It's the restaurant owner, I believe, that would receive the grant, the restaurant corporation, however you're set up, and it's one grant to that group of restaurants, not separate grants to each unit.
And our next question is certainly presumptive. How long do I wait for the money?
I'm sure it would be, there's probably after May 7th, I'm guessing 30 to 60 days, but I can't say for certain.
Okay, let's jump in the chat and see if we have any questions there or what exactly we have in the chat box today. Some greetings and salutations. And let's see what else is here. There is the nurture pre-application links and a lot of the county flood damage survey links. So that's all there for you to grab if you need it. The micro relief grant is there for Kern County businesses. And thank you for subscribing to our YouTube channel. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Information on the IRS and a lot of the timeline. You're getting some love from a fellow New Yorker.
Thank you.
He's a New Yorker, but he's not a Yankee fan. He's a Red Sox.
I'm from upstate New York. And I lived in Manchester, New Hampshire when I was a kid, forming my sports allegiances. So I was only an hour away from Boston at the time. So
okay, you don't have to explain it.
Boston
You know, that would kind of like if you being in New York and being a Red Sox fan would be like me being in Bakersfield and being a Giants fan. Okay, so there's the phone number for if you need any assistance and flexibility with any payments from the higher. And when Rob was talking about gas prices, he's talking about natural gas. We know we were paying higher at the pump also.
And Maureen put the link to register for our Food Service Equipment Expo next week. Thank you, Maureen.
Oh, that's great. Food Service Equipment Expo, which sounds really fascinating. That would be a good question. And here's a question. Thank you, Jim, for asking this question. We are currently working out of a commissary, making and selling bacon online and at farmers markets. Can we apply for this grant?
It doesn't, from what we just looked at on the website, I'm thinking probably not, because it talks about needing a brick and mortar restaurant.
And yes, I'm thinking probably not, but yeah, go ahead and apply.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to ask.
Nothing ventured, nothing gained.
There you go.
Yeah, you know, it's what's mentioned in this building a lot, the devil are in the details. So this might be an angel in the detail. You never know. Let's see. Can you share the flyer application link with us? I think you've found it. There we go, right there. There's cafe bakery eligible.
I believe so. If you have that's a brick and mortar restaurant where you serve customers food and beverage.
And I will just go off of, because, you know, I like to assume and I like to speculate. It's what I do here. And since the restaurant revitalization program, the federal program that put out about $28 billion, but yet only was able to fund a third of the restaurants that had applied, 2/3 did not receive funding for that. They did take cafe and bakery. So under that assessment, I would say definitely apply. Okay, good questions, good comments. Good job on the chat. Oh, it's all good. Let's go back and check and see if we had any last questions, and we don't. Okay, well, great. Well, that's going to do it then. It's 12:58, and thank you, Rob Duchow, for joining us.
Happy to be here.
And it was a lot of fun, informative. Thank you for having this program for restaurants. I know restaurants are going through such a continuing struggle. I've heard some better news the last couple of months, but still with all the cost and everything. And this site and this program is definitely a step in the right direction. So thank you for doing that. Any last comments, Rob?
No, I appreciate being here. Again, to encourage anyone eligible who thinks they may be eligible to apply for this grant program.
Okay. Well, and if you have any other restaurant questions or related facts, want to expand, hey, that's great. Need help with employees, whatever, contact the SBDC and we can help you. So that's a wrap. That's it for webinar number 272. Big thanks to Rob Duchow. And we'll be back next week for number 273. Our guest will be from the USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, on flood programs offered USDA for floods that we have had, floods that we will have, and floods that have already occurred in the past. So thank you so much for joining. We'll see you next week. Goodbye, everybody.